Hello, I am Citizen Sleeve, and welcome to brand new content on the channel. Now, I've been gone for just over a week, sorry about that, but I'm working on loads of stuff in the background, so titling and idents and the skeleton, which you'll see, all in an effort to improve my workflow, my consistency, and my ability to get a variety of different content out nice and quick. So, what new content do I speak of? Well, there's a glaring absence of a particular thing on this channel, and given who I am and my background, it's bloody stupid. Really is. And now, for those of you who don't know, my whole background is essentially in film and TV production and academia. So my whole education is in that. I taught it for over 14 years, and yet the only thing I've done on this channel in regard to it is one single episode of The Mandalorian, which is a little bit mad. From now on, very minimum you're going to see new stuff of is film and TV reviews and all kinds of other things related to. But the core and the bread and butter of the channel is going to be those movie reviews and TV reviews. So if there's anything you'd like me to review, by all means, chuck it in the comments. And bear in mind, I will watch pretty much anything, okay? The indiest of indie films, foreign films, horror films, black and white films. It does not matter. I've studied film my entire life. I am up for watching almost anything. So if I fancy it, I'll do a review. So how this is going to work is really simple. First half will be spoiler-free, essentially, apart from a few bits and pieces. The second half will be spoiler-heavy, and I'll let you know, obviously. So then, to my first movie review on the channel. The Vanished on Netflix, directed by Peter Facinelli. It's a thriller mystery film with a pretty good cast that has one of the worst cop-out endings I've seen in a very long time. As bad as Identity with John Cusack and Ray Liotta. That ending was poor, and this ending is also as poor, if not poorer. So you have to go into this film knowing that the end is not good. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Right, so the setup is really simple. The first thing we see is a orange suited up convict who's running around the woods, obviously escaped. And then we cut to a couple in an RV, played by Thomas Jane and Anne Heche, and their daughter Taylor in the background, just kind of doing kids' drawings and stuff. Now, the couple, Paul and Wendy, they're quite unlikable in the end. But we'll talk about their characterization as we move through. But they're essentially going on a holiday to like an RV park or a national park, and they've got all their fishing gear and stuff like that, and they're just going on a family holiday. So they rock up at this RV park. They're brought down to where they're supposed to park, to this quite seedy guy, the park owner, who has this little ramshackled shack where he keeps everything, which is important later. They park up, they start getting everything ready, get the RV sorted out and plonked down where it should be, get all the fishing gear out, and Heche is outside doing stuff, they're all mincing about. Taylor is in the back, the daughter, playing with the dog, which is like a pog, I think, and there's another RV next to them with another couple. After that, it becomes a murder mystery. So as they're about to go fishing, they shout for Taylor, and she doesn't respond. So they start looking around the camp, they look around the RVs, they start asking people. No one's seen her. Taylor has gone. She has vanished, as the title of the film alludes to. So everyone then starts trying to find her. They get the sheriff involved, the department comes down. The sheriff is played by Patric, which I didn't even click with at all for some reason. He's only got a beard on, so I don't know why it was so different, but I didn't click at all. He tells them he's never lost a child before, they'll find her, and then the film kicks into the search parties, police en masse, out in the woods, searching for Taylor and trying to find some reasons or who could be a suspect. And that's where it kind of becomes this more mystery-based film. Who took her and why? So we already know the convict is out there, so we have that knowledge. But then also you have other people around the camp, the seedy owner, there's a guy who works for him, there's a younger guy who's a drug abuser, and then you've got the other couple in the other RV. So there's all these different suspects that have a varying level of possibility of being the kidnapper. I should say the cinematography in this film is actually pretty gorgeous. It's very low contrast. It's got the kind of the colour drain from it a little bit, and it's of these beautiful lakes and forests, woodland, and it just looks amazing. It's got a really excellent visual vibe. Right, now anything else I mention is essentially going to be a spoiler, so I'm going to give you my verdict for those of you who have not seen this film. If you have Netflix and you're into thrillers or mysteries, by all means give it a go, but you are going to be disappointed by the ending. You're going to wonder why you spent all this time watching this film and the setup and the way everything's delivered, only to find out that this ending is so bad. So that's the caveat. It's got a good cast. There are some good characters, although the central two are actually quite unlikable, but the overarching narrative comes to a really crap conclusion. So if you can deal with that, by all means, but there's plenty of better stuff on Netflix and other streaming services if you're into thrillers. Awooga, spoiler time. Let's get into it. Okay, now loads of crazy stuff happens. So every character in this damn film has some kind of immense backstory, which is all rammed into 2 hours and something. And they all have these secrets, and that's why a lot of them are suspects for taking Taylor. Now, part of the problem with this film is it over-convolutes itself. So, because everyone's a suspect, Wendy's the most paranoid, and she starts suspecting everybody. Wendy and Paul go out in the woods on their own, and they come across the convict. Now, Wendy accidentally kind of shoots the convict, but they are obviously no closer to finding Taylor because, well, he's dead. So if they wanted to ask him, they couldn't now. So they go back to the RV and clean up and wash all the blood off and, try to hide everything. And the sheriff comes over and they manage to kind of lie and make sure the sheriff doesn't know. Then they start suspecting the other couple in the other RV, which is Tom and Miranda, who are played by John D. Hickman and Alexi Archer. We already have this scene prior where Thomas Jane's Paul is kind of flirting with Miranda, and you can tell that there's a little bit of animosity between Wendy and her because of the way that he is when he's around Miranda. Like, he spots them having sex in the other RV and watches, and Miranda turns back and stares at him and things like that. And we find out that Paul has had an affair before, and Wendy brings that up and they have a fight about it. Their fights are really quite nasty at times, and they feel uncomfortable. They're not your standard fights. They really go after each other. It's not a good relationship, and that's why the characters aren't particularly likable. So anyway, they break into the other couple's RV, and they find out that this couple has been struggling to have a child and maybe can't. So then their suspicions are raised even higher, and Wendy kind of convinces herself that it is this couple who's taken Taylor. So they convince them to go out on a boat to search the lake, and lo and behold, it all kicks off. Wendy accuses Tom and Miranda of taking the kid, and you're suspicious, and you can't have children, and then a fight ensues. A shot is fired. Tom ends up in the lake along with Miranda. We don't see Miranda again, basically. We just see her go. And then we see Paul killing Tom. So he dies in the lake. So that couple is gone. They come back to their RV then. The other couple is obviously gone, and they've justified all these killings. They've both killed a person now, and they're trying to keep everything stum so no one knows they've committed these horrible acts. Then the sheriff department, I guess, one of them comes across the body of Tom, and everything then kicks off. What's happening? This person's dead. The convict's dead. There's all of these characters who are suspects. And the sheriff then admits that his own son died as well of drug addiction, and he has lost children before. Now, at this point, the setup is still actually kind of cool, because it's still a thriller murder mystery, and we don't know who the antagonist is, who the actual kidnapper is. And so we still got all these cast of characters, the seedy park owner and the younger kid who works for him, and that couple, but now they're dead. As Miranda's body is found in the lake later on, so literally they're all dead. So you've got all this mix of mysteries to try and work out and identify clues. But then we start moving into an area which really sets the film up for what could have been a pretty good ending before it just goes all tits up and that's it. It's not very good at all. And that is the moment when Wendy goes to the seedy park owner's little shack store and wants to borrow some videos. So she gets some videos, brings them back to the RV. They have a fight again, because that's what they do through most of the film. And then when she goes to take them back, she noticed this door before, this door into what could be a basement or something, but he was in there at the time and he comes out. And she just thinks to herself, I wonder if it's this guy. Now, everyone else they bloody killed, so it can't be them, and if it was, they wouldn't know anyway. So she decides she's going to try and get into this place and find out. So she sneaks around the counter. She makes sure that he's not there. She reaches up in what's quite a tense scene and tries to find the key on this high shelf in this pot. opens the door, and then very, very slowly sneaks down this horrible, dingy looking basement. It's a little bit like a bargain basement version of the end of Silence of the Lambs. So she sneaks down, there's all these doors and everything looks dilapidated and broken, and she slowly gets to this final door and opens it, and she finds a room with cameras and loads of videotapes stacked up with girls' names on them, really grimy and horrible. And then, as an audience, I certainly went, so he's taken Taylor, it's been a setup for him to be this horrible underground paedophile the whole time, and now she's found this horrible, disgusting place that he's been doing these horrible acts in. And that's kind of where I thought it was going to end. And then he comes back and they end up in a scuffle and she ends up killing him, and then the police all en masse come out, and then there's a statement from them where they talk about this guy being part of a paedophile ring, and that's where I thought the film was then going to end, or at least maybe there'd be a twist with a different suspect that wasn't what we got. So the convict is dead, the other couple is dead, the guy who owns the park is dead, but that's a good thing considering what he'd been doing. And then the younger kid is the only one still alive. The ending is one of the worst cop-outs I've seen in a thriller of this type. It's just utterly ludicrous. And that's very, very simple. The sheriff comes across a photo in which the daughter is still alive. And it's dated from a very long time ago. From the time of her death. She was already dead. The couple was deluded. Thomas Jane's Paul and Aunt Heche's Wendy thought their daughter was missing when she'd been dead for years and years, and surrounded themselves in a psychological delusion where they created a situation where their daughter had become missing, and they involved all these people and the sheriff's department. They even at one point call Paul's brother to make sure that Taylor had been dead for however many years, and she had been. So this couple, in essence, had just lied, possibly unknowingly, to create this situation, and it turns out that all these deaths and everything were completely unnecessary because the daughter Taylor had been dead for years anyway. And then the final part of the film is just them driving off in their RV like nothing's happened. Like everything is fine. Like they haven't just slaughtered 4 people, one whom deserved it, but the other 3 bloody didn't. Oh, the dog dies as well. So I don't know why the dog dies, but the dog dies as well. So that's it. It's such a bad ending. You could have done so much more with a film like this. You think of the greatest films in the thriller genre. Things like Silence of the Lambs, things that have these great setups and wonderful endings. And if they do have a twist like a 7 or something, it has a really good payoff. This has 0 payoff and basically unravels all the work that's been stitched together in the prior portion of the film, with the characterizations and their backstories and the setups and the possibilities of them all being suspects. In the end, it's none of them. They're just deluded. Taylor was already dead. Boom, they drive off in their RV and that's it. So, do I recommend this film? Not really. I mean, like I said, if you've got it on Netflix anyway and you like thrillers, by all means give it a watch. It's got a decent cast, although the principals aren't particularly likeable. The narrative is relatively decent until it gets to that final third and it just falls apart completely. And the ending is a huge wasted opportunity and a massive cop-out. There you go. Not particularly recommended. If you have seen The Vanished, what did you think of it? Did you enjoy it? Did you like the setup and the characters, the dialogue? Did you like the ending? As opposed to my complete no, I did not like the ending? Tell me in the comments, folks. Right, thank you very much for watching my first movie review on YouTube. If you liked it, hit that like button. If you disliked it, hit that dislike button. And if you really want to support the channel, subscribe and spread the word. Get the review out there to the masses. There'll be plenty more coming. And as I said, make sure you chuck in the comments if you want me to review a particular movie or TV series, and I shall have a gander. Thank you very much for watching. Loads more incoming from me, and I will catch you very soon. Take it easy.